In 2021, a horse named 1030 with Casey Deary aboard won the NRHA Futurity. This horse was purchased as a prospect from the Futurity sale as a yearling for a whopping $44,000. The average price to train and prepare a horse for the Futurity is around $50,000. Many young cowboys and cowgirls dream of riding a horse in the Futurity. But what happens when your dreams are much larger than your pocketbook? This is my horse Scarlett. About a year ago, I bought her for $25 from a loose horse sale here in Montana. And in 2025, I will be taking her to the NRHA Futurity. Most horses destined for the NRHA Futurity start out as a dream. Breeders hand select a sire and dam to create a cross that will be talented enough to make it to the Futurity. The NRHA is one of the few associations that allow a grade horse to be nominated. Last year, after only owning this little filly for 2 months, I decided to go ahead and send in the paperwork to nominate her. For anyone unfamiliar with Scarlett's story, she is a wild horse. She was gathered off of the Crow Reservation and really has no business showing up at the Futurity. But just because something hasn't been done before doesn't mean it's not worth trying. So over the next 2 years, I will be preparing her to show at the most prestigious event in the reining horse world. For anyone unfamiliar with the sport of reining, it is a sport that tests the horse's training and willingness to be ridden through a set of maneuvers. These maneuvers include spinning, running large, fast, and small, slow circles. Patterns also include several lead changes, and of course, the spectator favorite running and sliding stops and rollbacks. The cards are definitely stacked against us, and compared to regular Futurity horses, Scarlett is going to have a little bit different training schedule. I used to start a lot of colts that were destined to show in different Futurities in Western events. I have a pretty good idea of the training schedule that these horses need to be on to be ready in time for the show date. It's been about 10 years since I've seriously started Futurity horses, and a lot has changed since then. I was lucky enough to find a podcast with Andrea Fapani, who is a $7 million trainer in the NRHA. In it, he lays out his program for getting these horses ready for the Futurity. There are going to be 5 huge differences between the way a prospect is typically prepared and the way that I plan on preparing Scarlett. The main difference is going to be the age in which these horses are started. These horses are typically started before they even turn 2 years old. I prefer to start all my colts when they're around 4 years old. This does present a bit of a challenge because Futurity horses are typically shown when they're around 3.5 years old. Scarlett does have a very mature mind for a horse her age. She really hasn't been pushed very hard since I got her, and while I won't be starting her under saddle just yet, there are a ton of exercises that I can do to prepare her body and mind for when she is ready. Another huge difference between the way a typical prospect is brought up and how I'm going to bring up Scarlett is the intensity of their training. Most Futurity prospects are ridden 6 days a week from the time they're started until the time they're shown. Early on in their training, they may only spend 15 to 20 minutes under saddle, but as they inch closer to Futurity time, that time gets longer. Right now, I have 13 horses in my care that I need to spread all my time out over, and while I would love to work Scarlett every day of the week for short sessions every day, it's just something that's not realistic for me at this time. When I start my horses under saddle, they will typically be ridden 3 or 4 days in a row, and then the rest of the days they will have off. Another big difference that I am going to run into being in Montana is the weather. I do not have an indoor, so anytime I work the horses in the winter, I am very aware of how long I work them, how sweaty they're going to get, and how long it will take them to properly dry afterwards. Most of my horses do look like woolly mammoths right now. They have really intense winter coats because they do spend all winter outside for the most part. Currently, we are having a pretty mild winter, but January and February typically get so cold that I do not want to work or ride any of the horses. Any benefits that could be gained from continuing to ride the horses through the winter could easily be lost if they slip on the ice or if they get sick from being ridden and getting sweaty. So in addition to being started later than a typical prospect, Scarlett will also get several months out of the year where she will not be getting worked. Another problem that I will run into later on in her training is the ability to haul her to shows. Futurity prospects being brought up in Arizona or Texas have year-long possibilities to get the hauling they need to get used to the show environment. The show season in Montana is typically May until September. While there are no big reining shows to haul her to locally, there are tons of smaller activities that I can take her to and get her used to the general atmosphere that there is at a horse show. I think this is going to be the most important part for Scarlett because as a wild horse, she is very reactive and aware of her surroundings at all times. To prepare for the futurity, she is going to have to learn how to handle travel in the trailer and getting accustomed to a new place very quickly in order to be shown properly. The last and probably largest hurdle that we're going to run into with getting her ready for the futurity is going to be the money aspect. I will be saving a ton of money because I will be doing the training on her all myself. However, because she is a grade horse, her entry fee is going to be almost $3,000. And that of course does not include the cost to haul her around and get her ready for the show or my time spent away from home at the show. I do think that it is very important to have big dreams for these horses that I save from unfortunate situations. When I had initially nominated Scarlett last year, she was looking like she was going to finish around 14 hands maybe. But at about 16 months old, she's already standing 14-2. She also does have a fairly independent mind, which is not great for a reining horse to have. After spending all summer with her, I do think she might be more suited to working cow horse. So it will be interesting to see how she progresses through her training and if she is still a good prospect for the futurity after she started under saddle. This little girl has a long way to go if we want to make it to Oklahoma City. I'm really excited to get more in depth with her training, and I'm really grateful for everyone's support in her journey so far. If you're new to my channel, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss any future videos on this pretty little girl. And if you've been watching us for a while, drop a comment below as to what discipline you think she's going to excel most at. I don't think she's going to have any trouble performing the maneuvers of a reining horse. But given how big she's been getting lately, there might be another discipline that suits her better. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for the next video.